Oh, we're already streaming. Hey, I forgot to put my cover on. Let's go. Let's do it anyway. Welcome to today's Tax Talk. I'm your host. I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. Check those things. Welcome to the show. It is Monday, October 10th, the year of our Lord 2022. And we've been going through these for the last couple of years. The defund police, defund the police movement, get rid of all the police and crime won't go up. Well, they cut funding. They defunded the police and crime went up. So now there's a movement in Congress about the IRS. And so we're going to talk about that. Won't you join us? Yes, the GOP came out with Representative McCarthy came out with a plan. I forget what they don't say it. It's not. It's kind of like the contract with America from years ago with Newt. But I forget what they got. The commitment to America, I believe it's called. And one of those commitments is on day one. Let's see if we can find it. Let me see if I can find that. Let's see if but on day one they are going to try to walk back the new Inflation Reduction Act. Remember, I got to laugh every time I say it. The commitment, should have done this before, to America. Here it is. See if we can find a copy. Let's going to come up. Yeah. Okay, this is one of the. Let's go. Might as well go there now and see if. Let's see. Nope, wrong one. Yes, you have to get rid of that. Okay, so here it is. Here's the commitment to America. Under President Biden, a one-party rule in Washington, families can't afford groceries. So, blah, blah. House Democrats won't have a plan, but House Republicans do. Our commitment to America lays out a detailed plan to secure an economy that's strong, a nation that's safe, and a future built on freedom, and the government that's accountable to you. All sound like a good idea. So this is the commitment to America. They have a plan. According to this plan, one of the first things they're going to do, on day one, we always hear that. Oh, on day one, we are going. Well, I don't know if they're going to do it or not, but here's what they're saying. Why? And then, so they have this plan on the first day of Congress in 2023. If the Republicans take control, they will propose to repeal or defund that portion. Maybe redirect. Remember, of the $80 billion, $45 billion, more than half, is going towards enforcement, not to improving the IRS. They keep telling you, well, don't you want them to answer your phone call? They're not really putting that much more money into answering phone calls. It's not going to make a dramatic difference, in my opinion. But so because the GOP is proposing this now. As we see with the mainstream media, they're always working. Well, even if they do it, say they're going to do it, but they're not really going to do it. So here's a story from The Hill. Why defunding IRS auditors won't be easy, GOP promise to keep. Well, does that mean you shouldn't try? I think it's a good promise anyway. So let's read the story. Republicans heading into November midterm elections are talking a big game on the IRS, promising to take back the $80 billion in agency funding provided by Democrats. Did the Democrats provide the funding, or did the Democrats promise that you will provide the funding? Which is it? promising to take back the $80 billion funding provided by the Democrats and scuttle the plans to hire what the GOP has characterized as an army of new auditors. Well, I think 87,000 is an army. I know they won't all be auditors. 45% according to the budget, or I should say 55% or 60% would be according to the budget. Now, the strategy would pay political dividends at the polls in November if the GOP is correct that the calls will motivate their base. I think it'll motivate more than their base, but it will also raise expectations that Republicans will follow through on their vows. Never as a politician raise expectations, right? And then expect people should expect that you should follow through on what you've promised. The House GOP leader Kevin McCarthy says the first bill a new Republican majority will pass if it wins control of the House will be one repealing the new IRS agents. Yet, with President Biden still in office and Republicans at best having a slim majority in the Senate, such a House bill is unlikely to become law. Democrats already are promising to go to the mat to protect the hard-won funding, which was included in a sweeping tax, healthcare, and climate change bill signed into law in August. Why don't they call it what it is? The Inflation Reduction Act. They argue the new IRS funding is necessary to make sure the agency can conduct audits on wealthy tax cheats, and the middle-class Americans are unlikely to be audited. Instead, they say the middle class would be hurt by GOP's plans because it might delay their receiving tax refund checks. Oh, you better vote for us or your checks might be delayed. Wait a minute. Haven't they been delayed for the last 2 years? So who's been in charge then? Have they been delayed? The answer is yes, of course they've been delayed. Well, it's not our fault. Republicans are openly vowing that their number one priority, if they retake power, is to delay Americans' tax refund checks and make it even easier for millionaires to cheat on their taxes, said a Democratic representative, said in a statement to the Hill. That's what they're trying to do. We want millionaires to cheat. First, I don't believe it. If you looked at the millionaires, what they pay in taxes, I don't believe they're cheating anybody. After years of deliberate Republican sabotage of the IRS, because they were using the IRS against the conservatives, the Inflation Reduction Act will finally give IRS resources to process returns faster, answer the phone, and crack down on big business tax cheats. That's just not true. Very little money is to process things faster or answer the phone. Next Congress, the Republican majority will use its congressional authority to ensure the IRS is held accountable and rescind the new funding so that the agency focuses on customer service. Democrats will be in no position to defend the supercharged agency, threatening audits on the middle class, Brady said in a statement to the Hill. Republicans scoff at the Republican arguments that the infusion of money for the IRS won't lead to audits of small businesses and middle class, while expressing doubt it will help with speedy tax refunds. I think I've done that. I expressed doubt, I work every day with people who still haven't received their tax returns. I think he means refunds. Said Thursday on Fox News Business Network. And now we're going to put the tax police out. 87,000 who they're going to go after the middle and lower income taxpayers. Some Republicans have been unusually harsh rhetoric to describe the IRS. Are they going to have a strike force that goes in with AK-15s? Whatever. Already loaded, ready to shoot some small business person in Iowa with these? Because I think they're going to go after the middle class and small business people, said Chuck Grassley, a former chairman of the Finance Committee, and said to be new funding during an August appearance on Fox News. Such statements about armed IRS agents have been debunked. Have they? By numerous fact checkers. Debunked means they're not all going to have all the 87,000 is going to, because that's the straw man that they all 87,000 aren't going to be armed. Yeah, but some of them are. They're right that all 87,000 are not going to be armed, but have not discouraged ramped up political messaging by Republicans. So I wonder what side these reporters are. Reporters, I'm using are on. The figure of 87,000 new IRS auditors come from last year's Treasury Department's compliance report, which found that $80 billion could pay for 86,852 new IRS hires. But only a portion of those would be new auditors, tax experts say. A portion. What kind of what portion? Oh, we don't know. More than half? Well, we don't know what the number is. We are going to do a report. We're going to do a study, and we'll figure out where that is. But it's going to be after the election. The rest would be customer service representatives, computer scientists, and other kinds of agency workers. Moreover, due to the aging workforce, the IRS estimates it will need to hire 52,000 employees over the next 6 years to maintain current levels. Okay, they're already funded. They're in the budget already, which are more than 10% lower than they were a decade ago. We've explained that many times on this show, why that is. They don't need as many employees. According to IRS data, the IRS has yet to break down exactly how it's going to spend the $80 billion, which will stretch over the next decade and grow the agency's budget from roughly $12 billion. It's actually $14 billion. I don't know where they get the $12 billion. Oh, because there was an extra. It was 12, and then they added almost $2 billion. So it's actually $14 billion a year to $20 billion a year, which would make it $22 billion a year. So I don't know. Again, a lot of people don't understand that. Right now, it's $14 billion a year. Not million, $1 billion. $14 billion. And they're almost doubling it to $22 billion. Unbelievable. But the new law blocks it out of major chunks, including $45 billion for additional audits. More than half for additional audits. So when they say, it's not all going to audits. Yeah, but a big portion of it is. $25 billion for improving basic operations. $3 billion for taxpayer services such as answering the phone calls. So of the $80 billion, less than 5% is going to get them answering the phone call. And that's what they say that they're really trying to do. And nearly $5 billion for new technology. And the $5 billion, whatever that is, that's a little bit more than 5%. To increase, but they keep telling us how it's really about the IT, right? Their infrastructure is terrible. It's from the 60s, but they only put 5% of that $80 billion towards that. If it's such a critical area, shouldn't they spend most of that money on that? Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen told the IRS the new money for enforcement should be used specifically to go after corporations and wealthier people whose audit rates in recent years have declined faster relative to other income tax classes. These investments will not result in household earnings of $400,000 per year or less, or small businesses being an increase in the chances that they are audited relative to historical levels. Yellen wrote in an August memo to IRS Commissioner Charles Rettig. Instead, and I read that memo here on the show. Instead, they will allow the IRS to work to end their two-tier system. There's a two-tier system, right? Yeah. Where most Americans pay what they owe, but those at the top of the distribution often do not pay. Actually, there's half of the Americans don't pay any tax, and the other half pay all of it. That's really the two-tier system. The decline in tax enforcement has vastly increased the estimated revenue lost each year to underpayments. The IRS puts the figure as high as $1 trillion. As I always say, it depends who you're talking to. So today, right here, it's $1 trillion. They've said $300 billion. They've said $600 billion. Now they're saying $1 trillion. So it depends on what they're trying to accomplish, because it's all an estimate and you can't hold them to it at all. Increasing a reliance on deficit spending that Republicans have long decried. So it's the Republicans' fault. Republicans have also been fierce critics of the IRS's operational performance, criticisms that grew out only louder during the COVID-19 pandemic, when the backlog of tax returns increased significantly. Much of the new agency funding is designed to eliminate that backlog, streamline the processing of tax returns, and reduce wait times for taxpayers calling into the IRS information centers, efficiencies that would be undermined by slashing the agency budget. Actually, there's such a small part of the budget, we could say, how about this? We don't get any more agency, but we spend 10%, $8 billion, and put it into where we really need it. which you're saying is the most important, that you're not putting the money into anyway. Maybe we should do that. The IRS is in crisis with massive backlog of unprocessed tax returns, unanswered phone calls, and bureaucratic delays, they say. Democrats argue the GOP runs counter to claims that they represent the party of the law and order. It seems to me that Republicans just don't want people to pay taxes, even if they owed. Head of the House Budget Committee said an Inflation Reduction Act was passed in August. We know there are hundreds of billions of dollars of owed but not paid taxes in this country every year. And this is an attempt to try and recover some of that money that is owed and is not being paid by taxpayers who are, in many cases, cheating. They're cheaters. The fact, all Americans, if you got your own business, you're a cheater. The fact that the IRS bill is the one promised by the IRS GOP majority, and that is a central part of the party's midterm messaging, shows Republicans think the theme is a pure political winner. Well, is it? Yet there are polls that suggest the IRS isn't a public demon suggested by the IRS rhetoric. A 2020 Pew Research poll found 65% of Americans hold a favorable view of the agency, while 29% have an unfavorable view. Well, I think 50% don't pay any taxes. What do they care? Right? I mean, come on. Okay, so that's the story. I think it's interesting. But you know, there's another story. I have it. It's in the description, so you can go there. You know, but it's amazing to me. Okay, they should talk about defunding it, or at least where the money should go. I think doubling the size of the IRS is unnecessary, and all. What free people would create an agency like the IRS and then double it? It doesn't make any sense. You know, and if you think that you can run your business with the IRS over your shoulder and looking at, it's impossible. And of course, I think that's part of the plan. They don't want you to, do they? They don't want you to run your own business. They want you working for a corporation who gets all these tax breaks and then sends you your check, and then the IRS gets their end every week. That's what they want. Okay, so anyway, I'm a big advocate for business owners. I fight for business owners. That's what we do. So here at Open Tax Advocates, let me go back here and ask you to like and subscribe. I should probably do that at the beginning because people don't make it to the end. But like and subscribe. We need your help. Please help us. Please help us. Okay, to like and subscribe. If you have problems with the IRS, if you owe them money, first thing you should do, get a copy of my book, Deal with Your IRS Problem Today. Go to freeirsbook.com, freeirsbook.com. We'll ask for a small shipping and handling charge, but the book itself is free, and all the bonuses that come along with it are also free, like the 4 things you need to know if you have unfiled tax returns, or the 6 things you can do if you owe the IRS money. There's nine red flags for audits, stuff like that. Those great reports right there, they're included in the package. So go to freeirsbook.com, get your copy. Thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate you taking the time. And tomorrow now is Crypto Tuesday. You won't want to miss the show on Crypto Tuesday. We'll see you then. Out.